I was 32 years into trucking, close enough to retirement I could smell it. The open road had been my home since I was 20, hauling everything from frozen peas to steel beams across the lower 48. I'd seen it all, blizzards that buried rigs, heat waves that buckled asphalt, and the kind of fatigue that makes your soul ache. I prided myself on keeping my head, no matter what. UFO sightings, drunk drivers, ghosts, just stories to swap at diners over burnt coffee. That was before the night I picked up the man on Route 50, out in the Nevada desert. That's why I don't drive anymore. Route 50's called the loneliest road in America, and it earns that name. It's a ribbon of blacktop slicing through nothing, sand, sagebrush, and the occasional tumbleweed. No towns for 80 miles in either direction, no cell service, just you and the stars. Truckers avoid it at night if they can. Too many stories. Rigs found empty, keys still in the ignition. Drivers claiming they saw lights dancing in the dunes. I didn't buy the ghost stories, but I respected the desert's indifference. It didn't care if you lived or died. It was pushing 1 a.m. late summer, the air still warm enough to keep the cab windows cracked. My rig, a beat-up Kenworth I'd nicknamed Betsy, growled steadily, pulling a load of auto parts to Reno. The radio had been static for hours, so I was humming old Merle Haggard tunes to stay sharp. My thermos of coffee was down to its dregs, bitter and cold. The dashboard clock glowed a sickly green, and the stars outside were sharp enough to cut glass. I was in that trance you get on long hauls, where the white lines blur into a river and your mind drifts. That's when I saw him. A man, standing on the shoulder, thumb out. He was maybe 50 yards ahead, caught in the edge of my high beams. I blinked, thinking it was a mirage. Fatigue does that, makes shadows into shapes. But he was real. Tall, lean, wearing a dark suit that looked too clean for the middle of nowhere. No backpack, no water bottle, just standing there, calm as you please, like he was waiting for a cab in Vegas. Hitchhikers aren't rare, but out here, at this hour, red flags. Could be a drifter, a tweaker, or worse. But he didn't look desperate. His posture was relaxed, one hand raised, the other in his pocket. Something about him screamed out of place, like a businessman dropped into a wasteland. I slowed Betsy, weighing my options. Keep going, leave him to the desert's mercy, or stop, because maybe he's just a guy who broke down, no threat to a grizzled old hauler like me. The human part of me won out. I eased Betsy onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires. The hazards blinked, casting an orange pulse across the sand. I leaned out the window as he approached, sizing him up. Mid-30s, clean-shaven, dark hair slicked back. His suit was sharp, black, tailored, no dust despite the wind kicking up grit. His smile was easy, almost too perfect, like a car salesman's. "Thanks for stopping," he said, voice smooth with a faint accent I couldn't place. Not southern, not foreign, just off. Car broke down a ways back, been walking for hours. I squinted past him, nothing but empty road and desert. No wrecked car, no tire tracks. "Where's your ride?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. He waved vaguely behind him. "A few miles east, radiator blew. Figured I'd try my luck on foot." Bullshit. Nobody walks miles in a suit without a drop of sweat. But his eyes were steady, and that smile didn't waver. "All right," I said. "Hop in. I'm headed to Reno. Can drop you at the next station." "Appreciate it." He climbed into the passenger seat with a grace that didn't match the situation. No grunt, no stumble, just fluid like he'd rehearsed it. He settled in, hands folded in his lap, and I caught a whiff of something. Not cologne, but a sharp, metallic scent, like ozone after a storm. I pulled back onto the highway, Betsy's engine rumbling. The cab felt smaller with him in it, though he wasn't a big guy. I glanced over, trying to read him. His suit was pristine, no creases, no wear. His shoes, polished dress shoes, not hiking boots, had no scuff marks. And his eyes, I couldn't see them clearly in the dim cab, but they didn't catch the dashboard light like they should. They were just dark. "Name's Cal," I offered, breaking the silence. "What's yours?" "James," he said, still smiling. Just James. All right, just James, I said, forcing a chuckle. What's a guy like you doing out here? Don't look like the camping type. He laughed, a sound that was too smooth, like it came from a recording. Business trip. Got detoured. You know how it goes. I didn't, but I nodded. Something was off, but I couldn't pin it. Maybe it was the way he sat, too still, like he wasn't breathing, or the faint hum I was starting to notice, low and steady, like a distant power line. I told myself it was the engine, or my ears playing tricks. Fatigue, right? We drove for a bit, the desert rolling by, endless and unchanging. He didn't fidget, didn't look out the window, just stared straight ahead. Then he spoke, his voice cutting through the hum of the tires. "You've been driving long, Cal?" "Long enough," I said. 32 years? You? Me? He tilted his head like the question amused him. "I get around, always moving, never stay in one place too long." "Sounds like my life," I said, trying to keep it light. But that hum was louder now, not the engine, not the road. It was coming from him. Subtle, but there, vibrating in my chest. I gripped the wheel tighter. He turned to me, and for the first time I saw his eyes clearly in the dashboard glow. They weren't right. Too dark, too deep, like wells with no bottom. No reflection, no spark. "What's the worst thing you've seen out here, Cal?" he asked, his tone casual, but there was a weight to it, like he was testing me. I hesitated. Truckers see plenty, wrecks, fights, weirdos, but his question felt like it wanted something specific. "Seen some bad crashes," I said. "Folks not making it, that's about it." He nodded like he expected that. "Ever see something unexplainable? Lights in the sky, shadows that move wrong?" My skin prickled. I'd heard those stories, sure, never seen anything myself. But the way he asked, it was like he knew something I didn't. "You trying to spook me, James?" I said, forcing a grin. "Just curious," he said, and that smile was back, wider now, showing too many teeth. "This road's got history. People vanish out here. Ever wonder where they go?" I didn't like where this was going. The hum was stronger, a physical pressure now, making my ears ache. My mouth was dry, and Betsy's cab felt wrong, like the air was too thick. "Look, man," I said, "I'm just trying to get to Reno. Let's keep it chill, yeah?" "Of course," he said, but he leaned closer, just a fraction. "Tell me, Cal, what's your favorite memory? Something you hold on to when the road gets long?" The question hit like a punch. It was so specific, so out of nowhere. I thought of my daughter's graduation, her smile when she hugged me in her cap and gown, but I wasn't about to share that with this guy. "Why do you care?" I snapped, sharper than I meant. His smile didn't falter. "Memories are what make you, you. They're precious. I collect them, in a way." That word, collect, sent a chill down my spine. The hum was unbearable now, a low throb that seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat. I glanced at him, and that's when I saw it. His hands, resting in his lap, weren't quite right. The fingers were too long, too thin, and the skin, it shimmered like heat rising off asphalt. Not human skin. Something else. "Stop the truck," I said, my voice shaking. "Get out, now." James didn't move. His head tilted again, that same amused look. "You don't mean that, Cal. We're just talking, sharing." I slammed on the brakes, Betsy lurching to a stop. The hazards blinked, casting that orange glow across his face. He wasn't smiling anymore. His eyes were voids, and the hum was a roar, filling the cab, drowning out everything. I reached for the tire iron under my seat, my hands trembling. "What the hell are you?" I whispered. He leaned in, close enough I could feel the cold radiating from him, like a freezer left open. "I'm what's been here longer than your roads," he said, his voice low, layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. "I take what you don't need, your memories, your years. You won't miss them when I'm done." I swung the tire iron, aiming for his head. It connected, a dull thunk, but he didn't flinch. His head snapped back, then slowly turned to face me, like I'd tapped him with a feather. The shimmering on his skin spread, his form flickering like a bad TV signal. Underneath, something angular, insect-like, pulsed with that same metallic hum. I didn't think. I threw open the door and jumped out, hitting the pavement hard. The desert air was warm, but I was shaking, my breath ragged. I ran to the back of the trailer, fumbling with my keys, praying I could lock myself in. Behind me, the cab door creaked open. Slow, deliberate footsteps crunched on the gravel. "Cal?" His voice called, calm, almost sad. "You can't outrun me. I'm already in you." I froze. My head felt heavy, like someone was squeezing it. Images flashed, my daughter's graduation, my first rig, my wife's laugh, fading like photos left in the sun. He was taking them, feeding. I don't know how I did it. Maybe it was panic, maybe it was rage. I climbed back into the cab, slammed the door and gunned the engine. Betsy roared, tires screaming as I floored it. In the passenger seat, he was still there, but his form was breaking apart, edges dissolving into static. His eyes locked on mine and he said, "You'll forget this. You always do." I didn't look back. I drove 90 miles an hour through the dark until the sun rose and the hum faded. My head was pounding, my memories a jumbled mess. I couldn't picture my daughter's face clearly anymore, just fragments. I dropped the load in Reno, parked Betsy, and walked away. Told my boss I was done. He thought I'd had a stroke or something, but I didn't care. I couldn't get back in a rig. Not after that. Every shadow on the road, every hitchhiker, feels like him. I work at a hardware store now, safe in town where the lights stay on. But sometimes when I'm closing up, I hear that hum, faint in the back of my mind. And I wonder how many others he's taken. How many drivers, alone on that lonely road, shared a memory and lost everything. If you're out on Route 50 or any desert stretch and you see a man in a clean suit, thumb out, smiling like he knows you, don't stop. Keep driving. Some passengers don't just want a ride, they want you. Life can grind you down until you're begging for a way out. That's where I was, desperate for a quiet corner to catch my breath. That's why I bought the cabin. I thought it'd be my refuge, a place to escape the chaos and just be, but I was wrong. So wrong it's burned into my soul. Something was waiting in those woods, something that knew my every fear before I even crossed the threshold. It didn't just want me, it wanted to own me, to weave me into its rotting heart forever. This isn't a story you'll shrug off. This is what happened to me, and it's a warning. Some places aren't yours to claim, no matter what the deed says. I'm Noah, 31, an audio technician in Seattle. My job's a pressure cooker, mixing sound for TV ads, racing deadlines, clients screaming for perfection. My head was a mess, my sleep stolen by dreams of static and shouts. I was falling apart. Needed an escape. Found a listing online, a cedar cabin in Washington's Olympic Peninsula, priced so low it felt like a gift. The photos were haunting, crooked logs, a crumbling stone chimney, fog curling through cedars like it was alive. I saw myself there, sketching by the fire, free from the noise. I sent the money without a second thought, grabbed my keys, and drove up that Friday night, chasing silence. I didn't know I was driving into a trap. The road was a beast, gravel twisting through fog that swallowed my headlights. Cedars loomed, their branches clawing at the sky like they were guarding something or hiding it. The air hummed, low and sick, a pulse that settled in my chest. I reached the cabin at 2 a.m., a rotting husk in a clearing, fog wrapping it like a noose. It looked ancient. Windows black as voids, roof sagging like it was tired of standing. The key worked, but the door groaned, a deep, pained sound that made my skin prickle. Inside, the stench hit me. Rotting meat, burnt metal, so sharp I gagged. I forced a grin, told myself it was just an old place, nothing a cracked window wouldn't fix. I was so naive. That first night, I lit a fire, popped a soda, tried to settle in. The silence was heavy, like the forest was pressing against the walls, watching. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft from the wood. Not my name, not yet, just a murmur, like someone crying far away. I froze, soda can denting in my grip. Had to be my imagination, right? Too many late nights, too much stress, but it came again, clearer, a woman's sob. He's gone. My heart kicked. I checked every room, empty, locks tight. The cedars outside stood still, no wind to blame. I told myself it was pipes, creaks, anything but what it felt like. But the hum was there, faint, vibrating the floor, and my skin wouldn't stop crawling. The next morning, I found something that turned my stomach. A sketchbook sitting on the kitchen table. I hadn't brought it. Its pages were filled with charcoal drawings, cedars, spirals, a woman's face, eyes hollow, mouth twisted in a silent scream. The last page was fresh, ink still wet, a sketch of me sleeping in bed, drawn while I was out hiking. My breath caught, hands shaking as I tore it up, burned it in the hearth. The flames flared green, spitting ash that smelled like blood. Outside, scratches marred the porch, shallow, forming a spiral, warm under my fingers. No tracks, no signs of anyone. The fog was thicker, the cedars closer, like they'd crept in overnight, and the hum pulsed stronger, a heartbeat I couldn't shake. I went back to Seattle, tried to bury it. Work was brutal, but the cabin was worse. It clung to me like a shadow I couldn't outrun. Dreams hit hard, cedars bending, spirals burning, a woman's voice sobbing my name. I told myself it was stress, but I knew the cabin was calling me back. The next Friday I drove up, dread curling in my gut. The hum was waiting, louder, a pulse in my bones. That night the sobs returned, but they weren't alone. A man's voice joined, deep, broken. She's gone. She's gone. It came from the attic. I grabbed my flashlight, climbed the ladder, heart slamming. The attic was empty, but the walls were carved with spirals glowing a faint, sickly red. A locket sat in the corner, silver, tarnished. Inside was a photo of a man, eyes sunken, face gaunt. The hum roared, shaking the beams, and the man's voice whispered, "Elias." Saturday, I found a Bible under the floorboards, pages brittle, dated 1865. It was marked with a name, Reverend Amos. Verses were underlined, frantic. "The earth shall claim its own." The air grew heavier, the hum a sick throb that made my teeth ache. That night, a new voice joined the chorus. A man's chant, fevered, "Suffer, suffer, suffer." It was Amos, his words crawling from the walls. I checked the attic again. The locket was open, Elias's face now scratched out, a spiral in its place. The Bible was bleeding, red soaking the pages, forming my name, Noah. The hum was a voice now, soft. "Stay, Noah, stay." I should have run, but the cabin had its claws in me. I went to town, a gas station flickering like a dying star. The realtor wouldn't talk, just stammered, "Leave it alone," and hung up. The library had answers. The land was cursed, shunned by tribes, feared by settlers. The cabin was built in 1865 on a living vein, a place where the earth hungered. Owners vanished, Clara, an artist, 1920, Elias, a widower, 1890, Amos, a preacher, 1866. All left journals, all spoke of spirals, voices, a thing that weaves you into its flesh. Clara's last entry, "It has my face." Elias's, "It drinks my grief." Amos's, "The cabin is alive." Back at the cabin, the hum was a growl, the stench choking. The sketchbook was back, filled with drawings of me, bleeding, screaming, trapped in spirals. Elias's locket was under my pillow, the photo now, my face, eyes hollow. Amos's Bible was on the table, pages turning, bleeding my name. The voices were everywhere. Clara's sobs, Elias's moans, Amos's chants, blending into a scream, "Noah, stay." The walls oozed, black blood, thick, stinking of rot. I grabbed a knife, checked the crawl space. Something moved, a shadow too big, with eyes like burning coals. It lunged, I slammed the hatch, barricaded it. The next weekend, the cabin went feral. The fog was a wall, cedars bending, roots tearing the earth. Lights died, bulbs exploding in glass shards. The walls pulsed, flesh-like, spirals blazing red. The mirrors were alive. My reflection wasn't me, but Clara, eyes bleeding, then Elias, mouth gaping, then Amos, chanting with red eyes. They screamed, "You're home, Noah!" I smashed them. They bled, blood pooling into spirals, the floor writhing like skin. The thing showed itself, a mass, flesh and wood, writhing, its face shifting. Clara's, Elias's, Amos's, then mine, red eyes burning. It smashed the window, glass melting, its arm, roots, bone, flesh reaching. Mine, it roared in my head, my soul. My memories burned, my mom's voice, my first gig, my sister's smile, dissolving into despair. The journal was my only hope. Pages flipped, landing on kill the heart, the spirals were its heart. I grabbed an axe, hacked the biggest spiral on the chimney. The cabin screamed, blood gushing, soaking me. The hum faltered, the thing shrieking, clawing the walls. I kept swinging, flesh tearing, my arms burning, the cabin convulsed, walls splitting, mirrors exploding into red dust. The thing burst in a grotesque mass, red eyes blazing, its mouth a vortex of teeth and despair. I swung, hit its core, a spiral, pulsing. It howled, a sound that shredded my mind and collapsed, melting into sludge. The hum died. The door blew open. I ran, fog choking me, roots grabbing my legs. The forest screamed, a voice that wasn't human. I reached the road, bloodied, half dead. A trucker picked me up, said I looked like I'd fought a demon. I didn't tell him what I'd fought. I burned the deed, sold everything, fled to a Seattle high-rise. Concrete, noise, no trees. I quit my job, took a desk gig, tried to rebuild. I thought I'd beaten it. I thought I was free. But the cabin never let go. Last night I woke to the hum, faint in my apartment's walls. My bathroom mirror's wrong, my face but not mine, eyes bleeding black, mouth splitting into a grin I didn't make. This morning, I found a spiral scratched into my bedroom door, red, glowing, drawn while I slept. I keep my lights on now, check my reflection every hour, but it's always there, watching, waiting. I don't know if I escaped that cabin. I don't know if I'm still me. All I know is the hum's getting louder and the spirals growing bigger every day.